It used to be hard to find the exact auto parts you needed, and that meant spending a lot of time at swap meets. It's a different game now when you can order exactly what you need from eBay Motors. They have 122 million parts, so you can always find the right fitment. Spend less time searching and more time building with the eBay Motors app or visit ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Holidays are here, and so is fashionable fitness. Gift yourself a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G, a phone that folds in half to literally stand on its own. Pair it with the Galaxy Watch 4 for ultimate wellness and wow factor. Check health stats, flex personal records. Over 90 activities can be tracked, like biking, swimming, golfing, and more. Invest in yourself with tech made to crush goals. Holidays open up with Galaxy. Shop it all at Samsung.com. 5G connection and availability may vary. Check with carrier. Products sold separately.
Hey everyone, this is the Elmo's World Podcast. Bringing to you mind-blowing interviews with guests from all over the world. So settle down, relax, and enjoy the show. Oh yeah, by the way, if you like the podcast, please support Elmo's World Podcast on Patreon. Your support is what helps the podcast improve more and more. Welcome to Elmo's World Podcast. This is Elmo, your host, and we have my friend Lucas Jax here. Lucas, can you tell us something about yourself?
I'm 21. I'm from Nacogdoches, Texas. I enjoy writing. That's pretty much my big deal, is I enjoy writing. I think scientists would call me a nerd. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
What do you write about, bro?
I have a couple stories that I'm writing about. One is I guess it's a story that's kind of, the theme is decay, just everything kind of goes downhill, like lights fading out, darkness is gathering, and and the people in the story are just trying to do the best they can to stop bad shit from happening. The other one is a bit more difficult to explain, but suffice to say, people live on the backs of giant turtles.
Interesting. It's a fictional story.
Yes, sir. Fantasy.
Okay, can you tell us about that? That would be very interesting.
Okay. Which one do you want to know about?
The second one. It's people living on the backs of turtles.
Yes, sir.
It's sort of like similar to a lot of myths that you hear from other cultures. So
basically the way I've done it is I've tried to look at it sort of like from a scientific perspective, like how could one, like suppose these turtles were real, how could one feasibly live on the back of them? So I've done a lot of math and I've determined how big the turtles would be, like as far as square mileage or square kilometers goes, and they're pretty massive. Their shells, I believe I said, was the smallest one was like 31 square kilometers, and the largest one was I think 120 some odd square kilometers. And I have giant cities on the backs of these turtles, and they what they do to survive is they will actually drill into the turtle and like drain their blood and use their blood for sustenance, for housing. And I've looked into this, and apparently you can make a lot of stuff out of blood. I believe it has pretty much every ingredient you need to make high quality steel. You can get salt, get explosives, you can make glass, make alcohol, you can make several dairy products. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do with blood. You can get gold, silver, you can make depressants, or you can make stimulants. There's all kinds of stuff you can make out of blood.
Yeah, okay. So so humans are sort of like parasites, and you're in the above turtles, all right?
They are a lot like parasites, and that's actually kind of a plot. One of the plots in the book is they're kind of trying to come to grips with the fact that, hey, are we parasites? Are we bad? And it's kind of like a philosophy they're tossing around.
Okay, can you talk about the philosophy there then? Like for me, like it's similar to what's happening now on Earth. Like we are living off of other animals. We're living off of the Earth, and in a way, the Earth is sort of paying the price. But I guess the Earth is still the Earth. You know, it doesn't really care what you do to it.
I think this past year we've come to see that the Earth can be kind of vengeful. What with all the natural disasters and with COVID and everything. I don't know. I feel like you know that law, the third law. I think it's the third law of physics, where every action has an equal and opposite reaction. I think that if we push the Earth will push back. Like, you know what I mean? And, I mean, eventually we're going to push a little bit too hard, and nature's just going to try to, well, I guess we're going to be SOL. We'll be screwed.
But you know what I think? Like, for example, if we continue to say mine or pollute the Earth, for me, the planet doesn't really care about that. It's just a planet, you know? But when you talk about, like, global warming and being a parasite on this planet, or heating it up in long-term effects, I think that the Earth is irrelevant to that, but it's simply how we look at what value the future generations of humans living on Earth has to us, you know, because again, like even if the Earth turns into like a planet of magma, it doesn't matter. But what matters is that how we sort of preserve it in a way that it's still habitable for the future generations. That's I think what's valuable.
Right. And it's seeming more and more to me like we're not doing that. We're destroying this place. And the Earth is a beautiful place, but like you said, this constant mining, the pollution, just the economy is not good for the Earth. A good economy equals bad Earth, and good Earth equals bad economy. It's just, I mean, that's just the way it is, because if you want the economy to be good, it's got to be continually growing, and continual growth means continual pollution, continual mining, you know.
But also, if you wanna or hold the economy as something that important, you might also consider immigration, because if you certain countries like have worse and worse conditions because of global warming and the rise of sea levels, it will affect immigration. And for one thing is for sure, that's a huge problem in terms of the economy.
That's interesting. How do you mean it'll affect immigration?
Well, because for example, I think there's a country is in an island close to Sri Lanka, and they're actually like have a countdown of what year their whole island will be deep immersed in water, submerged in water due to rising sea levels. So in a way, their country already has a timeline, and they expect it to disappear one day. And so and especially in coastal countries in maybe Southeast Asia or even in South America, or countries like and when the bad stuff usually happen in these countries, they're gonna want to move. Maybe maybe the rich, or maybe just those who want a better life for them, who don't want to expect a hurricane or floods every 2 months. So I guess that will always affect immigration, and not just that, but also I guess in a way like if urbanization keeps growing, rural life won't be as attractive compared to like living in cities. So and I think that would be one factor to it. But I guess that the worsening conditions to third world countries will be a reason for more illegal immigration.
And okay, so this is something I'm thinking about this now, and I'm just trying to imagine how one must feel to have like have a countdown, a timer basically on their home, like a people that's literally being evicted from like an entire country because of rising sea levels. It's awful, and it's just think that it's because of big companies wanting more and more and more. They're literally evicting an entire people from their country. And what gets done about it? It's amazing to think about. It's awful.
Well, I guess that we can't all put the blame on oil companies, because one thing is for sure they're just supplying a demand, and the demand is that I think the whole global population just prefers using oil to maybe alternative things that use these energies, like electric cars and uh, things that would lessen their eco footprint, so
See,
yeah.
I do agree. I do agree to an extent that, yes, they are supplying a demand. But it's just like, say, with tobacco companies, people do get addicted to, like, things, not necessarily, like, say, nicotine or or alcohol or stuff like that. Like, you get addicted to, I guess, easiness, like luxury, I guess is the word for it. And they continually will sit there. The oil companies, just like the tobacco companies, they will sit there and try to spoon feed this to you and say, hey, you need this, trust us, you need this. And they will do everything in their power to make it seem like there's no true alternative to their fuel source. So they'll sit there and try to sell their wares, sell their product, while trying to downplay the fact that there are alternative sources to petroleum and fossil fuels.
Yeah, but okay, maybe they do play a role, but imagine the whole population preferring using electric cars to using cheaper cars that use diesel or gas, you know. That would in a way put oil companies out of business, and give incentives to people who make electric cars, and actually in a way help the world convert to more renewable energy. But the thing is that when you talk about for example electric cars, or even just that, it's not really that eliminating the pollution that it makes, because when you talk about the things that like drilling, like finding the materials to make electric cars, that takes a lot of pollution as well, especially how you manufacture it. So it's more of a reducing thing, but it's still a conscious choice towards a direction that is much better than what we have now. So I'm still pro to electric cars, probably veganism, but I guess that we can't all remove beef from our or pork from our.
Yeah, see, I'm conflicted on veganism because I do see the need, I do see where people are coming from. It's always good to be healthy, but at the same time, if everyone were to convert to veganism, then that's everyone eating plants. You would have a boom in I'm sorry, I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. You'd have a boom in say livestock, animals, stuff like that, and then you would start seeing plants and what have you, plants, trees, stuff like that. They would start being depleted much faster.
Not really.
A little bit.
We're not gonna eat trees.
No.
We're probably gonna consume agricultural plants.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I mean. I'm sorry, I'm tongue-tied.
So it's not going to be depleted, because we're always because as a farmer, you're always gonna plant something that will grow quickly, or at least the fruit-bearing trees, and imagine if the world, the whole world relies on plants. So we would want to keep plants alive. We wouldn't want to eliminate them all, eat them all up, and Easter Island or something.
So really, in the way I see it, all these problems we're having, pollution, rising sea levels, everything, it all boils down to one main problem in my mind, and that's overpopulation. There's too many people. I was thinking about this just a couple days ago. In just my lifetime, I believe there's been like an extra billion and a half people born. Like the population's increased by like a billion and a half is what I mean. That's insane to me. That the world population we're getting close to 8 billion now. When I was born it was just 6 billion.
I disagree though. I think that we're not really overpopulated, because if you look at it, half of the world is obese and half of the world is malnourished. Well, and there's some in the balance, of course, but you see that the resources actually is overwhelming already. There's no lack if of anything. It's just that we feel that some people deserve more food rather than others. And I might be like saying that, oh, then we should like do socialism, communism. No, I'm thinking that in the case of how we distribute resources, there's always, I think, like, it would be more beneficial to the whole human race if there would be some sort of universal basic income. Because the thing is that for example, if someone doesn't have can't have like can even produce for their own to eat 3 meals a day, or go to school, or even just have a cell phone in order to that is necessary if you want to like thrive in the modern age. If you can't even have those basic necessities, you won't be able to maximize your production as an individual. And that's why I think that there in terms of how the third world countries are trying to catch up, there's still a huge potential that's not getting maximized, and it's not in its optimal form. But like if you look at Hong Kong, the density of the population there is so there's like a lot of people you can fit there. And you actually I think that it's like if you look at, like, for example, the size of Germany, and you like use the density of Hong Kong and put like all the people of the earth in Germany and the density of Hong Kong, we could actually fit there and actually live together. So if you're talking about space, there's a lot of space. And if you're talking about resources, there's enough food for everyone. And water. It's just that how we try to decide who deserves this or that. There's a lot of factors that we can't just ignore, like nationality, your someone's job or whatnot. And I think that that's something that we have to eliminate in the future. But I guess that the huge role that happens here is that, for example, if I were, let's say, I'm Filipino right now, and I would want if someone from, let's say, from Malaysia would start a business in my country, I would sort of have like a nationalism deep inside me and feel like what like you don't have a sort of a right to earn the same way I do in my country, because you feel that you have something like an identity where you deserve more because you're from this area. But yes, you're home, but the thing is, it's not really your home. It's just the earth, and you're just a human being that was born here. It's not really inherent, and these are like social and cultural things that were embedded in us. And I think if you in the future, you know, in I would think that we have to eliminate this and actually look at every human being as like a brother or a sister, and we're all just one small village sharing this earth, you know. And it is sort of utopian, but I would love to think that that's the direction we're moving towards, rather than, oh, this is my piece of land and nobody's gonna touch it, nobody's gonna step on it. It's just me, you know. That's just, for me, that's immoral. But I guess that in terms of what is immoral to what is supposed to happen right now because of the conditions, well, we have to accept it. You know, we have to work together still.
Right, and as ideal as that would be, like you said, utopian. As ideal as that would be, it would be great. It would be nice to have everyone getting along. There's no, land claims. You don't claim land as if it's ours. We own it. We all just kind of live and be. We all get along. Problem is, so long as there is a difference between two people, there's going to be there'll be tension. As long as there's a difference between two people, they'll always find a way to end up seeing the difference. And the only way we're going to get world peace is if we're basically all one people, one identical people. And that sounds awful, because then you lose the borders of your identity. Like the melting pot, America. Yes, it all assimilates and comes together, and it becomes one people. But like I said, you lose your identity in that. The components of what makes you you are sort of eroded away.
But I have to disagree, though. I think that in terms of identity, it's not. I think it when we, let's say, ignore nationality. Okay, like there's no American or no Filipino. There's no Indian or Chinese. If we eliminate all that, identity won't be reduced to nationality. And then because we're all one people, we're all one culture. The thing is that we would then focus on not a nationality or sort of like cultural identity, but more on individual identity. So it means that when we eliminate like nationality, you can see actually the growth of who you are, because if you're not reduced to just, oh, you're a Filipino and that's what you're going to be for the rest of your life, you could fall
labels.
Yeah, and that I think that where we can focus on, for example, me as let's say artist or a writer or whatever identity you would want to have. It's you don't just reduce yourself to that. And I think that that's much better, if you ask me. But I respect that, as you say, you might lose something, but I think there if you lose something, but the exchange is much better. That's my
right. And like when I say lose something, I wasn't necessarily meaning it as like a bad thing. You lose it that way, and it's not necessarily like the way I see it. A lot of people would see it that way, though. They would see when you assimilate, and everyone, instead of becoming, say, you're Filipino or American, we're just people. If you do that, and people would say, well, you're losing your identity. And whereas I would say, yes, you do a little, not necessarily a bunch, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. If that made any sense, my ramblings.
And when I think that in order for us to achieve or go into this direction, I guess that we would have to look at how the rate that globalization happens right now, and I guess that the role of social media is so important. But the thing about that also is that when you look at countries like China or India, you know, the what they or other countries is that what they do is they control social media, and that um in order to keep their identity, you know, because when people like keep discussing in from in internationally, they sort of get influenced in that. So that's why China is all is the blocks all other social media, and just I guess only indulge in themselves, in their own culture. Yeah, so and they ban religion, they ban a lot of things, and
and
that's
and they do that to maintain power too.
yeah, exactly. And so that you can also see that um, when it comes to power, it's really, really a delicate topic, because you might say, you know, like, is China wanting to maintain power over its people wrong, or is it right? You know, because it might be right in a way that they hold law and order in their society, and everybody's getting along, and but there might but in for example, if an American looks at it, like, you can see like people losing their rights, their freedoms. But if you ask like a Chinese person, are they happy with the government, are they not? I would definitely say that they're probably happy with what's happening, except for maybe Hong Kong.
Exactly. Yeah. Have you heard about the social scoring in China? I don't know near enough to like be able to discuss it, but pretty much there's like this score that they keep for every person, and depending on how good you are in the eyes of the government determines what rights you get. So if you have a high score, you get more rights. If you have a lower score, you get less rights, less privileges.
Interesting. I didn't know.
I can look it up, and I'll send you a link to it. A place that can explain it a lot better than I can.
Yeah. Okay. But and then but you know, like, if you in my opinion, I wouldn't want China to be a citizen of China. It's just that I love my freedoms too much.
Exactly.
But I guess that if I were in China, I would definitely follow the rules. I wouldn't like it's their cult, it's their country, and whatever they want to do there, well, I will have to conform. You know.
Right. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I get that.
But you know, like, for example, it's funny though, because I just found out, like, because the Philippines was like a former colony of Spain, and when it comes to naturalization in Spain, like, for other foreigners, it would take them like more than 10 years to be a naturalized citizen of Spain. But for Filipinos, if you live there with like a proper visa for like 2 years, then you can be nationalized. So like, it's like, look, we colonized you, we enslaved you for 300 years, and and we sold you to America for 1,000,000 pesos. Okay. So this is the some of the privileges that you have for if you want it. So it's really so,
it amounts to a pat on the back,
yeah,
and
yeah, here you go, you know.
a pat on the back and an insincere apology, like, sorry about all that, you know. We are so sorry.
Yeah. So, but I don't know if that's the same thing with like the USA to England. I don't know, but
nah, not necessarily. Well, that's a whole
different story.
That's a whole it's a whole complicated mess right there.
But like, yeah, but
do.
it's funny because like but then I guess that why would what is their reason, for whole country of Spain, their government, to hold this policy, like, oh, because you were our former colonies and you were different from other foreigners, so what's their basis to this? I just can't understand. Like, is it because they see us as also citizens of Spain before? That's why it's easier for us to get their citizenship. I don't know. Is it
Maybe,
is it repayment? I don't know.
it could be reparation, or it could be a sense of, yes, they still kind of see you as like citizens of Spain, for better or worse. I think that might be the case. Whether it's good-hearted and good-natured, like, hey, you were part of us. You were a colony of ours. So like, because you were a colony of ours, we'll give you this special, I guess, privilege, if that's what you want to call it. We'll give you the special privilege, you can become a citizen over here. Or they could have it in sort of a shady sense of, hey, yeah, you're independent now, but you're still one of us, that stuff don't wash off, it could be that kind of sense too. I mean, you never know.
I guess I would look at it more as a reparation. That I would accept that. Okay, fine.
It's like I said, it basically amounts to a pat on the back, but I guess at least they're trying.
but yeah, and but in terms of like the British, I have a friend, like, he talked about that he basically compared the British to the Nazis, because of how in more of like how they interacted with other I don't want to say racist, but other people, or other
Nationalities.
Yeah, other nationalities, like, and even in like the Scottish, the Irish, the Welsh, they just hate the English.
Oh, trust me, I know. There's a YouTuber I watch that's Scottish, and he talks about it constantly. But
especially the Irish, I think there's a huge I still like hate, I think, of how the English treated them before.
Yeah, which if you've done any studying on like the history of the of those wars between the Irish, Scottish, and English, it makes sense why there's still a little bit of bad blood between them. Because, I mean, it's real easy to forget that, yeah, the British during their imperial days were a lot like the Nazis. They would go colonize, conquer. I mean, that's what they did. And if you didn't agree with them, well, you were SOL.
But the thing about it is that if you really compare them to the Nazis, then you have to compare the dehumanization and genocide that the Nazis did. Would you say that the British also did that in that level? Because for example, if you look at like Australia, there's a historical research there that the Aborigines, the people who are native to Australia, were reduced to like 5% of their original population after.
Right, and that's genocide right there. But I don't mean to diminish anything that's happened, like say in the Holocaust or anything during World War II. I don't mean to diminish any of that. That was awful. But the Brits, during their time, like when they were real colonial, they probably did more. They did worse things than Hitler did. Just, it was spread out over the course of a longer period of time. Does that make sense? A sum total, they probably did a lot more damage than Hitler did.
Okay, but I guess that you can't blame them. I don't know. When it comes to blame, I don't blame a people. I guess that. And I don't know if it's the zeitgeist, but I guess that if it's like, if that kind of behavior or pattern, like, it keeps on going from like for 600 or 700 years, and still the same thing, like a people colonizing, destroying, killing, I don't know. I can't say anything.
But at that point, though, you can't necessarily blame the people, because that's like I mean, that's a really, that's a lot of like what Hitler did. He blamed a people. You know what I mean? You gotta look at the individuals, the people that are in power, in charge, pulling the strings, doing what have you. Those are the ones that are in charge, and those individuals are the ones that are causing a people to do bad things. Like for instance, Hitler and his advisors, if you want to call them that. He did bad things, and he got the German people to do bad things. But a great many of them weren't along for the ride because they felt it was the right thing to do. A lot of them were along for the ride because they didn't see another choice. They feared for their lives and their livelihoods and their families, their loved ones. So, yeah, you can't necessarily blame a people. You got to blame an individual person pulling the strings.
But as I said, like if there's a pattern happening of this always happening, then if it's just the people in power, let's say, I guess that what should be blamed here is the idea of nationalism. Like, it's us. I have to protect my tribe, my country, and it's me or them. So, and that's I think that colonization, for example, because a country is more powerful than another country, they're able to rule over them because of technology or military science or resources. It's really I guess that if you ask me if I would be willing as a Filipino, if we were able to have that power over another country, would I personally like treat the people of that weaker country and like kill them and enslave them? I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Right, because I mean, you probably see it the way I do. That's another people. It doesn't matter if they're less advanced, technologically or what have you. They're still another people.
And the majority of the English before, when they in their colonial period, were Protestant. They were Christian, and I don't know what Christianity played in colonization, but I think it was huge.
It was a huge deal.
Mm-hmm. And if it's a huge deal, then I want to know what specific thought process. Like, for example, if I was a Christian, like Bible-believing Anglican, how would I rationalize me like a soldier right now, like killing another people, or like colonizing India, for instance? How would I rationalize this? Because if I believe in Jesus Christ and all that, maybe I think they would think like, oh, these pagans, they don't they need colonization, so we need to evangelize and convert them. I don't know. If that was their purpose, I don't think it was. It was just power and resources.
That's what it was. It was a power grab, right? It was a power grab for land, for resources, but they disguised it as a sense of honor or duty to these people, to convert them from paganism and all these, filthy, horrible, other pagan religions, and convert them to Christianity, the good God, that whole bit.
That's what happened with Spain and us. That's why I'm like 80% of Filipinos are Catholic, and the thing is that I don't know why. Like, we know in our books, like the friars, the monk, or the Catholic friars are depicted as evil. And like most of my country knows that the Spanish friars in our time were rapists. They were just evil people,
Right.
And
right. And they were horrible people.
Mm-hmm, and I don't know why they're still Catholic though. I'm just kidding. But yeah, like you can see that the reason as to why Catholicism is in your country, and so why do you still have it? But I guess I guess they have it for other reasons. I don't know.
A lot of times when religion makes landfall somewhere, it's hard to scrub away because beliefs. There's a distinction between ideas and beliefs. Ideas, before they're ingrained into a person, you can change them, you can modify them as needed. But a belief is ingrained and hardwired into a person, and it is a bitch and a half to get rid of. Pardon my language there. I don't know.
It's okay. It's okay. And the thing about like as you say, like beliefs, the what happens is when there's already like a strong religious institution, like embedded nationally, you know. So the thing is that it actually automatically multiplies into the offspring, and it just keeps going on and on. And what happens is that there is a huge this a belief system being passed over from generation to generation, but there's not actually any analyzation of whether one should believe this or not. It's just they already accept it from childhood, you know.
Right. It's blind faith is what it is, and religion isn't the only one that's guilty of this. Politics are quickly becoming the new religion. And hell, even science. Even science, a lot of scientists will accept something as fact, and then if you try to say, hey, hang on a minute, maybe this isn't as concrete as we thought it was, a lot of times the established, the people that follow the established idea will jump on some new idea because, you're messing with their beliefs at that point. Science, in a lot of ways, is just another religion. And it's bad to say that, but I mean, that's just how it is because, I mean, like I said, if you try to come up with something that kind of shakes the foundation of, well-accepted, belief structure of science, then people will attack. And I mean, I've heard a lot of stories about that.
Yeah, and I know, like, this goes back also to when we were talking about the like colonization and the English and other countries. I'm not. I love. I have friends who are English, and I don't have I'm not racist or anything. It's not that. It's just
no,
that.
I got you.
Yeah, it's that for example in religion, it's the dogmatic thinking, probably, especially nationalism, religion, politics, science. What you all you said. It's the dogmatic thing that when you share it to a small child, they take all this into account, and they form their identity on it, and when they grow up, they already have these set beliefs, and there's no stopping them. They won't analyze it anymore. It's just they hold it as true, and they're gonna act on it, gonna live that way, So I think that's what has happened with us throughout history. Humanity getting taught by their parents what they should believe, and they don't question it. And for me, like, I just disagree with dogmatic thinking. You gotta think for yourself, and if thinking for yourself does lead you to a faith, to a religion, to a science, to politics, then good for you. But if you didn't think about it, you didn't question it for yourself, then you should question it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and that's like you said, you should question it. That's the thing. You should question everything. Don't take anything on blind faith. Don't take it, just because someone else says this is so. Question it. Think about it for yourself. Because if you're not, you're taking it on blind faith. That can cause huge problems. I.e. religion.
And when, for example, the way you should question something is that you don't have to not believe it anymore. It's just that
just
you have
take
to
it with a grain of salt.
Exactly. And when you do that, you're actually able to not just maybe if you do find something wrong with it, then you can eliminate it. But it also works both ways, that when you question your belief, it might actually help you grow into it more and know it more and actually develop it. Like, for example, if you question your faith, If you know that your faith, for example, in Christ, if you know that there are some weaknesses in how in what you believe, it might help you to question it so that you could actually grow in Christ more, you know. And that works also with science. Like in science, if you question something, it that's the scientific method actually. Yeah, you can. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah. So, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just agreeing with you. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to say, bro.
All right.
But yeah, when you talk about like science, what do you mean that the scientific things that people all readily accept and don't question it anymore? What would those be for you?
I can give you one case. This is something I heard about on a. Do you watch Joe Rogan?
Yeah, I watched Joe Rogan.
All right. Are you familiar with Brett Weinstein? Okay, he's I can't remember exactly what he does, but he taught at a university, and he was it's a broad term, but he was a scientist. Or I think he still is a scientist, but either way, discovered something about lab rats and like lab rodents and mice and what have you, that the telomeres on them are like, I think, longer. I don't want to go too far into this because I don't want to butcher what he discovered, but suffice to say, he found some stuff out about lab rats that potentially could completely like throw off like our scientific discoveries, because these rats are now not genetically identical or not genetically similar to humans, or not as similar to humans as we once thought they were because of the way we've been breeding them. So it could potentially cause a lot of problems, and it could invalidate a lot of testing they've done with these rats. And he's tried to bring this up to a lot of people in the scientific community, and they basically just kind of laugh it off. Like, they don't put any time or effort into checking it to see if it's valid or an actual concern. They just tell him he's crazy and go on with his day, basically. And that's one of the things. There's also, I believe they discovered traces of human, like, intelligent human existence in the Americas, like, as far back as, like, I think 100,000 BC, and a lot of people jumped on this guy. I think his name's Graham Hancock. They jumped on this guy because he said, "Look, there's evidence here saying that they were from way back then," and the people. The rest of the people in the scientific community basically said, "No, that's ridiculous. That's crazy. Everyone knows that it's only been, I think 40,000 years or something like that." And they're not putting any time or effort or funding into, studying this and seeing if it's actually possible. They're just trying to cling desperately to the beliefs that they already have. Because at this point, it's not facts; it's belief. They believe it's just the oldest, the earliest settlement was like 40,000 years old. But now there's evidence that it could be 100,000 years old, and they don't want to hear it because it's shaking the foundation of what they know and what they believe.
Yeah, that's true, bro. And I guess that what's happening is because there's a scientific consensus, they, in a way, anyone who deviates is wrong. That's it.
Exactly, and that's a lot like how religions do.
That would be something that we wouldn't want to happen. But I guess that in terms of the scientific consensus, I guess that nobody really cares about the scientific consensus, And if there's like a scientist who wants to study something that might deviate from the scientific community or what they currently believe, then I think that it's good to challenge, But yes, there is this dogmatic thinking in the science community, and it shouldn't be. That's just wrong. Mm-hmm. But what do you think about the age of the Earth? Like or aliens, because that's a huge thing that has like been on my mind, especially when I think about the pyramids. Like, how did people create this back then when there's no such technology?
Do you believe in aliens, extraterrestrials? You don't? I believe in them in a sense. I'm not going to pretend that I know what they're like. I'm not going to say that there's some little gray men, but there has to be something. Like, as vast as the universe is, there has to be something else besides us. I don't know. I don't know what. Like I said, it's just the universe is just so massive that, I mean, it can't just be us. Hell, even our galaxy alone is so massive it can't just be us.
Well, I think it's an either or. Like it for me, like it's this. Like, if there are aliens on in the universe and that they do exist, then it should be teeming with life. You know, because if in an infinite universe, and I guess that the universe already like 14 billion years, then that's like a lot of time for a lot of civilizations to grow and evolve and develop, like science and space travel and time travel. So you would expect, like, because this universe is infinite, like, and there would be this civilization that has taken control of everything and everywhere, but that's not what's happening. Mathematically, of course, that's what, like, mathematicians expected. But in our case, then if it looks like we're alone, then I would believe that they're alone. That's my opinion.
Like, the way I see it, though, is just because these other aliens or extraterrestrials, whatever you want to call them, because they exist. Like, the way I see it, they have to exist. But hell, they could just be a lot like us. They could have been just a little bit quicker, to figure out certain technologies. But just like how we have this habit of fighting and sort of cannibalizing ourselves, the human race likes to attack itself and anyone that's different from their tribe. Who's to say that the aliens aren't the same way? Who's to say they didn't just take this whole tribalism to a completely different scale and wipe each other out, and that's why you don't see them, because they're gone. I mean, you don't know. And hell, that they could not even be like flesh and bones like how we are. They could be some kind of higher consciousness. You don't know. What I do know is, well, I guess I can't say that I know, but what I'm almost certain of is that there has to be some, can't just be us.
But in my opinion, I guess that I also believe that the Earth is, like, old, and it's really old and I believe that, like, I guess 2 billion years old, right? That's what they believe. Mm-hmm. And so, if in that sense, that because also I'm also a Christian, and I believe in the Bible, and I don't deny that, but I also believe in evolution and science, and I think that in a way God used evolution for creation, and I don't see that as a contradiction. But and so how I would, like, look at the pyramids, and like look, there's this just impossible construction in, like, for 5,000 years ago, and we don't know how people did this. So I would say that in my opinion, in how that looks to me, it's sort of a, like, the time before Noah, when people were or where people were like like aged to 1,000 years old and were so skilled at things and their crafts. That's how I would look at it. That civilization before was so badass, but we just got wiped out, and so there's none of that anymore. And that Egyptians just found this place, this pyramids, and just built, like, redecorated it and claimed it as their own. That's my opinion, but I know it sounds crazy, but that's just how I look at it, and I can't say that it's the absolute truth.
Now, this is something interesting that I've always looked at. Have you ever heard of ley lines? Ley lines are basically these lines that go running across the globe, and they kind of intersect in sort of a grid that covers the globe. Okay? And at most of the intersections on the ley lines, there are important religious sites or important monuments or monoliths that are standing right at the intersections of these lines. For instance, the Great Pyramids, the heads on Easter Island, Angkor Wat. I think I think it's a pyramid at Teotihuacan, or it might be Machu Picchu. I'm not sure which. But somehow, way back a long time ago, our ancestors managed to put these things perfectly on these intersections on these ley lines, so that a way you can follow one of the lines straight, like a straight path from one monument all the way over to some country that they may not have even known existed, and on another intersection on those ley lines is another sacred religious monument.
But how do you take into account the movement of the tectonic plates, though? Right, because in a long time they might have been moving, and so it sort of changed. How
it might have, but if you look at it like on a scale of
10,000
human
years?
existence,
Okay.
yeah, they're not going to move very much.
Okay, true.
They'll move a lot over the course of millions and billions of years, but 10,000, maybe a few feet, not too much. It's just interesting that they had to have had some kind of technology. I'm not saying it's alien, but they had something that they used to make these things. I mean, you can even look in the Bible and you can see you can see examples of tech in the Bible.
Yeah.
Have you I can't remember the exact story.
I mean,
There was a story.
Do you mean the Ark of the Covenant or something?
Yes, the Ark of the Covenant. There was a story where they carried the Ark into the battle, and the enemies of the Israelites, I think it was the Israelites, they defeated the Israelites and took the Ark of the Covenant and put it in one of their temples. Do you know what started happening to the people around the temple where the Ark of the Covenant was housed?
Yeah, they sort of started dying.
They started dying, and it was described in the Bible as fingernails falling out, teeth falling out, hair falling out, skin turning green and covered in boils. That's radiation poisoning right there. Radiation poisoning was described in the Bible.
Well, I don't know, but then why were the Israelites not radiation poisoning? Was it how they handled it, using like the tabernacle and the washing and customs?
It may have been. That's one of those things I would have had to have been there.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say for sure.
It's right, like, because Jews have like so strict laws on how they handle the Ark of the Covenant, and like priests, like for example, when they enter the presence of the ark in like the temple, he would have to have a rope tied to his leg, so that if he sort of performed something inside of the vicinities of the ark and he died, all of a sudden people could like pull him back with the rope. If he so yeah, and radiation, it might have been radioactive, but I guess that in that sense, like, I guess that, for the Jews, that the Ark of the Covenant was a symbol of or of God's presence, presence. But I wouldn't deny that God's presence would manifest in the deadliness of radioactive poisoning. That would be reasonable. I guess that would be a case. But yes, it could be technology. I'm not. We don't know.
Yeah, and it's just, and another thing too, like with the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, and they said it rained fire and brimstone. I mean, hell, you could interpret that as a nuke if you wanted to. I mean, I'm not saying it's a nuke, but if you look back and you read the Bible, you can see cases of technology.
You know the Dead Sea?
Yes.
They said that that was the previous Sodom and Gomorrah, but I disagree. You know, because it's just that the Jordan River goes directly to the Dead Sea, and so it doesn't receive doesn't push away the salt or anything, so it just stays there in the Dead Sea. But yeah, I'm not sure. I guess that, but you're right. The also I think how about the flood? Like, what do you think of the flood or the ark? It might be a spaceship. That would be how some would argue.
I don't know necessarily about a spaceship. What I was thinking with the ark, because all right, so pretty much every culture around the world has a story of a flood, right? That means that, I don't know, I can't necessarily say that the whole world flooded. Maybe the ice caps melted a long time ago and it raised sea levels, but it didn't necessarily flood the whole world. I'm not sure. It's been too long, and it's been, passed down word of mouth. You can't say for sure. But with the story of the ark, if it's true, the way I've come to think about it, if it's true and if it's feasible to put, every animal onto this boat, it would have to be a DNA bank. You would have to take the DNA of every animal that existed at that point, DNA from a male and DNA from a female, and put it onto this boat. And then once everything's wiped out, then the waters recede, and you take the DNA that you've collected on this boat, and you, I guess, clone, make a genetic copy. Whether or not they had the capability, I can't say, but in my head, the way I would feasibly say they pulled that off would be a DNA bank, if it's true.
Well, that's nice. I guess that I watched a movie about that, but have you heard watch Prometheus?
I have not yet, and I need to.
Mm-hmm. It's like about spoiler alert, like humans discovering their ancient astronaut history, and that would be that a species of aliens like implanted or made the humans, and they just left us alone and forgot about us, and that's interesting to look at it. But actually, in terms of like their arguments for God, like, okay, so if the aliens made us, but who made them? So that's one thing too. So it's still a huge question.
Yeah, that's something I actually address in one of my books, just so I have a way of rationalizing it myself.
Okay, that's cool.
I
but
say,
also, hey man, like it's been like more than an hour of talking now. I didn't notice the time.
Good gracious, I did not realize the time passes,
Yeah.
don't it, sir?
Yeah, and so thank you so much, bro, and I hope that we could have more conversations, bro.
Of course, anytime, my dude.
And you got anything to plug?
I guess if people want to find me on the internet, I'm Franklin Durano pretty much everywhere. That's do you need me to spell it out?
No need, man.
All right. Yeah, just look up Franklin Durano.
So that's the end of it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This is your host, Elmo Ador Jr. And thank you for listening in. And please subscribe. Please follow us on Facebook. Please follow this. Please. Thanks.
It takes a lot of ingredients to fix or build a car, like cooking, but without the frozen dinner easy way out. eBay Motors has 122 million parts. It's always the right fitment, so you can follow any recipe to a T. Whether it's a vintage Italian coupe that's classic like Grandma's meatballs, or a German luxury car that's as complicated as Oma's rouladen, to cook up something great in the garage, use the eBay Motors app or visit ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
From HBO's Insecure and executive producer Issa Rae comes a new satirical true crime podcast, We Stay Looking. After investigating the disappearance of a missing Black woman in Looking for LaToya, Terry J. Vaughn is back as citizen sleuth Rose Cranberry. Through comedy, We Stay Looking sheds light on the serious issues of systemic racism within the media and the criminal justice system. Produced by Radio and Tenderfoot TV with HBO, new episodes of We Stay Looking are available on all podcast platforms, and you can binge the entire season now on HBO Max.